Hello and welcome to the latest episode of my Knitting and Creative podcast. My name on Instagram is Orchids Heart and I'm coming to you from Birmingham in England. It is the first week of December, but this is more of a November makes sewing, knitting, spinning, crafting catch up with maybe a little bit of December thrown in. You all see my stockings from last year are behind me, but I don't think I have any Christmas projects for you this time. I think it's just been general November making. I am wearing my sweater number 9 light by My Favourite Things Knitwear, which is a DK weight jumper, which I modified by doing a split hem. I don't think it came with a split hem. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I modified it because I made it whilst I was pregnant. And I'm wearing my plaid or check gingham bob pants, which you can't really see. But yes, both very cosy favourites. We have a terrible storm blowing in England, and so it's really dark. But thank you to my recent kofi supporters, or coffee or whatever you want to call it, because with the support you guys recently gave me, I was able to buy a ring light. So I'm hoping that even though it's really dark outside and in the house, that this is better lit than my other stormy day videos, because it's becoming increasingly hard, as I mentioned last time, to find the time to record a video when the baby is occupied or asleep and it's light. So he's with his grandma right now. Very happy. So if you hear any noises, it's probably him playing with his grandma. Lucky me, get a bit of a break. So yeah, I have all sorts today, and this video is actually sponsored through a gifted kit, which I will share in a bit, but just to be transparent at the start. So there we go. Am I in the Christmas spirit yet? Not really, not quite anyway. We've done a bit of Christmassy things, but I think we're having a very low-key Christmas this year. I am hoping ambitiously to do like a December Christmassy video before Christmas, but I'm not sure that will happen, being realistic. So yes, I'm also expecting the Royal Mailman post to come collect something, so I might get disturbed by a baby or post at any point, but shall we crack on? I've got 2 small finished objects. I've got some whips, I've got some sewing projects, I've got a little bit of spinning, I have an advent calendar, I have my gifted kit, and I think that's it. So it is quite a lot, but they're all small things, so I'm hoping this video won't go on forever. And I'm not sure if there'll be any extra footage dispersed throughout this time, because I'm a bit short on time at the moment. I don't think I've done a video for 6 weeks, so it probably looks like I've done quite a lot, but do bear that in mind. So my first finished object, which you can probably see, are my Quilty cabin socks by Horse Feather Fibre Arts, but I think she has a different name for her designing. And she offers the patterns in 2 versions. I think mine might be slightly different lengths. Oh dear. One has 1 row of this quilt motif, and the other one has 2 rows. Because I knit all my socks with a view of wearing them with my Blundstone boots, I tried to knit so that the colourwork cuff will be visible above the boot, and then I don't really care about the rest. So I only did 1 motif, so I didn't need to knit an excessively long leg if I had done 2 motifs. And so I used Le Sock yarn by Buches in the colour, I think it was Autumn Crush, Festive Autumn, something like that, which is like a red and gold, held double. And then a single strand for the colourwork of Exmoor sock by John Arbon in the colour Mizzle. And yes, I tried to knit the sock single stranded, but the Le Sock yarn by Buches, even though it says it's 400 metres for 100 grams, it actually feels really light. And I wasn't a fan knitting it held single, but when I held it double, it obviously went a bit quicker, and I did go up a needle size. I normally knit everything on all my socks on 2mm needles, but I knit these on 2.25, the colourwork on 2.5. And so I went down a size in the number of stitches. So it does mean they're quite well fitted, at least before blocking. I haven't actually tried them on post blocking, but they do feel a bit looser, and they feel a lot softer. I didn't really like the feel of the yarn before blocking it that much, but now they feel like they've got a bit more give. It's a lot less stiff. I guess because I held it double, it felt really dense. But it has 10% nylon, so not like a load of nylon, but a little bit. And I'm quite excited to try them on and wear them. These have become my Christmas socks for this year, so I might put them away and get them out on Christmas Eve, or I might decide because it's December it's time to wear Christmas socks. I haven't decided because I have really only just finished them. And I had a little bit of yarn left over, so I haven't brought it down because I've barely started, but I have cast on a pair of socks for the baby. I'm hoping this time the socks will fit him because the last pair I made were too small. So yeah, I'm not going to do the colour work. I'm just going to do some plain ribbed socks in this same colour, and they might be his Christmas socks too. So that's my main finished object. It has taken me a really long time to finish these. I feel like I've been knitting them forever. Not for any reason other than the fact that I'm doing loads of things at the moment. Not just like being a new mother and crafting, but also we're doing things with the house. Got some big life stuff going on, all positive, don't worry. Just a lot of things going on in my brain. And 4 months sleep regression is real. That's all I can say. I think I'm coping with it quite well at the moment, but sometimes it is rough. Yes. So, but my other finished object is a very modest finished object. If you've seen my baby knits video or the video where I finished it when I was pregnant, I knit him a little pumpkin hat, and it was orange. It was made from John Arbon yarn, and it was gorgeous. But at 4 months old, he is a chunk, and he's grown out of it, and so I quickly knit him up the same pattern. It's the little pumpkin hat. Can't remember who it's by, the information will be below. And I knit a bigger size. I think I went up a needle size because my yarn was heavier than it was meant to be. Or I was a bit short on yarn. There was a reason. So I knit the baby size, which might have been the same size I knit before, but on bigger needles and bigger yarn, and so it came up with a bigger hat. And I didn't, last time I hacked it by doing like ties, like a bonnet, but we've decided we don't get along with that, and so I did no ties. And yeah, it's a bit big for him, but he will grow into it. It'll last him all winter, and that's the main thing because he is growing at quite an alarming rate. I'm not exaggerating, he's in the 95th percentile or something like that, and he was a very normal size when he was born, so he's just growing very quickly. So I'm finding that he's going out of things quite fast. He's 4 months, and we're about to crack out the 6 to 9 months sleep suits, I think. I might need to go check on him in a second. But yeah, so that's kind of that's all to say about that really. I think it's a really nice pattern because you can do it with or without the nub. It might even be a free pattern, I can't remember. But you can do it with and without the nub, so you could do it without. And I like that it's got ear shaping. It does it with short rows, you know, they're really easy. And so even if the hat rides up a bit, his ears are still covered. And I am kind of tempted to knit one without the nub. See if I can poke it in so you can imagine. For myself, because of the ears, because it does go all the way up to adult sizes. I think the nub on the child sizes is really cute. I'm not overly keen on the colour of this yarn. It's like a maroon colour. It's just a random, sadly acrylic wool blend from Sostrene Grene that I bought a really long time ago. I had just one ball. I bought it because I liked the colour at the time. And you know, it's not that I'm really against the colour, it's just that it doesn't really go with the browns of his clothes, if I'm being really fussy. And it doesn't really go with his coat. But I'm gonna go have to check on him. But yeah, it does the job and he does like it. So that is my finished objects. Not very much I know, but I have quite a few whips to share, so I'll share those with you once I've gone to check on the baby. Poor little Mike's just trying to roll over and he can only get so far and then gets really angry. So that's all that was. Okay, so let's talk knitting whips. So I will briefly share with you the progress on my Find Your Fade shawl by Andrea Mowry, which I'm knitting using last year's Knotty Pine Fibre Co advent calendar. It's a bit tangled up because I've not really touched it in a little while, but I'm over halfway. I did originally have the ambitious idea that I'd finish it before starting this year's advent, which is not, I haven't got a Knotty Pine Fibre Co on again, because it was an indulgent treat. It comes from America. I got a lot more sensible one this year, which I'll share in a bit. But yeah, so I'm over halfway. I don't want to lose any stitches. I have stitched needle stoppers in here. I should put them on. So, where is the best place? So once you get halfway, you start knitting in a way that you end up with like a straight edge, and the centre spine starts moving across, so that it'll end up being like a funny triangle shape, like the birds of a feather shawl. It's the same shape, but the lace pattern in this one is different. If I'd known that, I think I would have knit the birds of a feather shawl again, because the fading, the Find Your Fade element of the shawl really is just striping colours together. So you don't need to do the Find Your Fade pattern to do a fade shawl. I mean, it would instruct you if you're using 4 100-gram skeins how many rows and what sections to use for each skein. But obviously, as I'm using 25 minis, I'm not doing that. I'm just doing like roughly 16 rows, I think, per mini, more or less, give and take, depending. The lace sections look wider, so yeah, I mean, it's a little bit all over the place. But I'm really pleased with the progress. I think it's really beautiful. It's very much my colours. Yeah, I'm loving it, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it when I finish some other projects. I will have lots of leftovers, so I'm really looking forward to knitting some earthy socks and some bits and bobs. I'm not sure what else, because I think I'll have quite a few leftovers. And I have cracked out my Christmas Harriet Wildwood Stitches bag, which I got a couple of years ago, and every year, usually mid-November, this year I was a bit late, I crack it out and have my Christmas projects in here. I don't have any specifically Christmas projects this year, so I'm just enjoying my shawl being in this one. So that's my longest whip. Ignoring the cardigan I have not picked up for months now. That's going to be a New Year promise to myself. Maybe once I finish the shawl. Instead, I had an impulse cast on the other day, which is a bit of a hybrid project. So, actually it's over there. When I was pregnant, I knit this, which I cannot pronounce, Raunioiset onesie, something like that. I will link it below. And it's a really beautiful, well executed onesie. It has this leaf pattern. It just has really nice finishes. I especially like how the cast on is really firm around the neck, and so you have a bit of a collar, which brings it quite close around and comfortable. And then the hood, you pick up the stitches and do the hood, and the whole thing is seamless. The only time you pick anything up is for the hood. Otherwise, there's no seaming. It's got short rows in the butt, it's got short rows around the shoulders, and so it fits the baby shape really well. But it was a bit complicated. I wouldn't say it's a really beginner friendly pattern, definitely more the intermediate knitter. I did knit this when I was coming out of my first trimester fog, so I found it exceptionally hard. But I think if I was to knit it now, other than maybe lacking the time to really focus on it, I would find it much easier. But once you got past the leaf design, it's just, you know, like doing a jumper really, you know, short rows and splitting for sleeves and legs, and you know, it's much easier after that point. It's just doing the cast on was the one I'd never done before. I can't remember the name of it at this point. Making sure you pick up the hood neatly, etc. Doing the leaf pattern, the increases and all of that was a lot to think about. If any of you remember, I was really worried this would be too big for him. It's not. It's almost perfect. So we've been enjoying that. But I really liked all the finishes and details on it. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to knit one as a coat rather than as a onesie for maybe next winter, but without the leaf design. And so I did put on my pattern wish list on Ravelry the Selma Sleep Suit. And the other night I basically went into a bit of a panic. He was getting too cold in bed because he was sleeping much better in bed with us than in his cot. And obviously I know there's a lot more to say about that. It's probably because he's in bed with us and not in the cot. He does sleep really well in his cot. We just went through a couple of days of it being not great, and it seemed to coincide with the weather turning. That I thought I'd knit him a Selma, does she call it the Selma Sleep Suit or the Selma something, Selma Suit maybe. I thought I'd knit him one of those to wear in bed. After my madness calmed down, meanwhile I'd already bought on Vinted a load of wool base layers for him, which is like a secondhand website for people who don't know. So a merino sleeping bag and like all the things babe could possibly need to sleep in, all secondhand, so I don't feel bad. So he is kitted out to sleep warmly. I had already cast on and started this project, and so it is like a onesie, a bit like that one. But I'm now modifying it to be a coat. So I was going to try and use the finishes from that one and apply it to this one, because this one's a lot more neutral. There's no like leaf pattern, but I kind of bodged it up a bit and it didn't go quite right. The construction of this one is different. You start with the hood and there is no inner collar. It's all sort of attached. So it is much easier to knit. If you want a garment like that kind of shape, but want easy, the Selma Suit is easy, because there's no picking up stitches or anything like that. No, that's a lie. There's a little bit on the hood, but it's two short straight edges, that's it. So, I mean, I tried to slip the first 2 stitches on every row to give a nice I-cord edge. That didn't really work because of the way you knit the hood. So I was trying to do it on the front and I've made a mistake here. And one side looks different to the other. And normally the knitted side is the side with the buttons, not the side of the buttonholes. So I think when I'm finished, I'm going to pick up and do an applied I-cord all the way around. And hope that even where there is an I-cord, I can kind of cover it up and do another one. I don't know how that will work. Also, the first buttonhole is really small because the way that she suggested to do buttonholes, where you do 1 yarn over, hasn't worked with my yarn combination. So for the rest of them, I'm doing 2 yarn overs. So I am using 3 strands of a mystery yarn, but it feels like a woolly knit cone yarn. So it's quite fine. It's an Aran weight pattern. I'm using 3 strands. I have split the sleeves and I'm now just working straight, doing buttonholes. I've put some stitches on hold to do little pockets, and I have done 3 sets of increases down the side just to make it flare out a little bit. And I'm just going to keep knitting until I think it's an appropriate length for a coat, and then do the sleeves and then pick up and finish the pockets. And then hopefully I'll have a nice cozy little coat. I am supposedly knitting the size for him at the moment, but this does look massive. So I'm kind of hoping it'll be a coat for next winter. I'm hoping this isn't going to be something that will fit him in the summer and that we don't end up using, because it is quite a lot of work, but it's also knitting up quite quickly and I'm quite enjoying working on it because the rows are quite short. So yeah, it's kind of a Selma suit, sleep suit, whatever she calls it, but I'm making it a coat. And I'll probably put some nice wooden buttons on it. So it is a little bit palaver holding 3 strands together. But you know, it's working out and I quite like the colour, so I'm looking forward to that. I wanted to knit it and I wanted to use stash yarn and not buy any more, so I'm quite pleased that I'm using some of that cone yarn. And I think I'm also going to, if the colour goes with the dresses I have in mind, I think I'm going to knit one of those vests that Thread and Yarn made by Retrosaria Pomar. Is it the Pelica vest? It's just quite a basic garter stitch vest, so it'll look very similar to this. And that might be my next cast on, because I want to wear it now. Probably by the time I finish it, it will not be the season, but maybe I could wear it again in the spring. We shall see. So that's 2 whips. My last whip is a very new whip. and involves a very micro acquisition. So we went to Suffolk a couple of weeks ago and to stay with Granny, and there is a really nice yarn shop in a town called Hadleigh in Suffolk. It's really small, but I really like it. They have a really good selection in a place where you wouldn't really expect to have such a good yarn. It's a very nice town, but I mean, who knew Hadleigh had a lot of knitters that weren't such a lovely shop? I don't know. And ages ago in a charity shop, I had bought 4 skeins of Patons Diploma Gold 4-ply in like a bluey grey, dark bluey grey colour. It says it's colour 4268. I think it's probably quite an old yarn. It's 55% wool, 25% acrylic and 20% nylon. So it is a wool plastic blend. But it was £5.99 for 4 balls. And I thought I don't know if that's a good deal or not, because I don't know how much the yarn would have been new. But actually she gave me a discount on the bundle of yarn I picked up out of the big basket, so it wasn't that much in the end. And what am I saying? I bought it with the intention of knitting my baby, but not in a baby size for in the future, a child size Beetle Magic. And so when I was in Hadleigh, really wanted to buy something from the yarn shop, but wanted to be sensible. And so I bought 2 mini skeins, both by Emma's Yarn. She calls them practically perfect smalls. This one is to do heels and toes for some scrappy socks using the leftovers on my advent calendar. So that colour really goes. It's called Roasted. And then this one is something that I have never bought anything this colour in my life, because objectively I don't like this colour. In theory, I would never wear it, but I am really excited to knit with it, because I think with this, it will make a really cute Beetle Magic jumper for my child. So I worked out how much yarn I had of this, and there was just enough on the yarn requirements for the same size on both. So I think I'm knitting size 3 or something. I really hope I wrote down. Yeah, I think it was size C, which is a child size. I'm actually not sure what size it is. 24 inches. So who knows? But I've knit the Beetle Magic jumper as a cardigan for myself, but my yarn was really hard and I don't really wear it, which is a shame because I really like the pattern. You can see the shape of it there. So I'm really excited to knit it again in child size. The pattern's by Katie Green Bean. And yeah, I'm loving it. I say I'm loving it, I've only knit this much. I've cast on. And so that's kind of there for me to finish the ribbing, etc. I might put this in my handbag to do the ribbing, so that then I can do the colour work during a nap time at some point. But that's kind of a future project, so maybe I won't quite get to the pelican vest yet. Yeah, and that's all of my knitting whips. I think now I will share with you the slightly sponsored gifted content, and then I've got a little bit of spinning, a little bit of sewing, and my woolly advent calendar. So yes, as mentioned, this video is sponsored and gifted. I'm not really sure what the terminology is, I'm going to use all of it. I wasn't financially compensated for sharing this with you, but I was gifted a kit. So the company Babylon Leather reached out to me to ask if I wanted to try out one of their sew your own leather handbag kits. Now, companies have reached out to me in the past and I generally ignore them because quite often it's like nothing to do with anything that I'm interested in. But sewing your own leather handbag did actually pique my interest, and so I had to look at the styles they had available, and I picked this one. So hopefully you can see a picture of that on the screen. It's like a small leather green over the shoulder handbag. now that I'm pushing the pram around a lot, a small handbag is something that I'm really enjoying because it can just have my essentials in, and to be honest, everything else is in the pram. And I do have a little brown handbag, so a green one I thought would be a little bit different. So they have lots and lots of different styles. I was quite interested by the Cambridge style satchels, but that was a little bit more sewing, and I wanted to be realistic with my commitments as a new mum about the time I have for these kinds of things. So I chose something that looked maybe a bit simpler and a bit easier and quite classic in a colour that I knew I'd really enjoy. So they asked me to share the kit. I haven't started it yet, so my honest review is the contents of the kit look really good quality. The packaging, I think, leaves something to be desired. The box was very beaten up and not very interesting, and it came in a Ziploc bag, which is fine. Everything I need is in here. It's all kept together. You have a QR code to scan for the instructions, so that's great. There's a video tutorial, so that should make it very easy for new crafters, especially those who've never done anything like this before, like myself. So I'm excited to give that video a look when I get a chance. I'm trying to open the leaflet. Yeah, so you get a free online class to go with it. And yeah, it should be quite easy because the holes are pre-punched, like so, and very accurately, so everything all matches together. And so that means you're not making any holes in the leather, which the only time I've tried to work with leather before, you did have to make the holes and it was brutal. So this makes it nice and easy. And you have all of the hardware. Which feels and seems very good quality. Comes with the tools and the needles and the thread and everything you need, and some clips to hold bits together. And yeah, and I think it'll actually be quite straightforward because I can already see by looking at the pieces and the shapes how it all fit together. Like you can see here that there's holes for the clip to go into, and so it should be fairly obvious. I could probably do it without the video instructions, but I will look at the video just to make sure I get it right. And yeah, and this really appealed to me because the reason why I do so much knitting is because it's a couch craft. Or a sofa craft. I can pick it up and put it down. It doesn't really matter if the baby wakes up after 10 minutes. I can just put it down and come back to it. And with sewing on the sewing machine, that's not possible, really. I do have a room for my crafting, which at the moment is a storage room full of stuff, so it's not really working like that at the moment. But I find with sewing, once I get into the zone, I have to focus on that and I can't stop. Whereas with knitting, because it just goes into a project bag, it's not a big deal to put away. So because it's just quite compact and small, I'm really hoping, and I think this will be fine, I can just get a basket or a project bag, put all the pieces in, maybe even this basket here, to be honest, if you can see it, pop it all in, and then I can just get it out and work on it a bit in the evenings. So it'll probably take me quite a while to make, because I'll be doing it in small bite-sized pieces. But I think because it's sewn by hand, it would be a really nice evening thing to do, sat by the fire or whilst watching a YouTube video, once I get cracking and understand how to do it. So yeah, I'm really excited. Babylon Leather have signed me up as an affiliate. So if you use my code and link below, I'll put the code on the screen, you should get at least 20% off. Sometimes they do extra sales, so you might be able to get an even bigger discount. But if you use my affiliate link, I do get a small commission back, only a little bit, so no pressure. But yeah, I just thought I'd share in case you guys want to have a go at sewing your own handbag, because yeah, why not? It sounds really exciting. The leather, it all seems very good quality. It says it's all Italian tanned leather. So that's nice. It should be quite hard wearing and should get a nice patina as you break it in and use it. So yes, hopefully my next video I would have started and I can share some progress with you. But yeah, if you're interested, have a look at the link below, and thank you for watching this small ad. Thanks. And thank you Babylon Leather for sending me the kit. Yes, so where am I? Sewing. Or spinning. Let's do spinning. So, I mean, not terribly exciting. I just wanted to share. This is a Merino Corriedale blend by Hilltop Katie. I'm still spinning through the fibre that I bought at the start of last year to learn to spin. And it was kind of various shades of brown, so it's created this quite uniform brown skein. And I want to knit a bear balaclava, might not be called that, by Petite Knit. A lovely viewer gifted me that pattern, and I'm really hoping there is a knot here to do that. The storm is going wild. I'm not sure if there is, but you know, hopefully we can have a go. I think it'd be really cute in this yarn. It's really soft, and I just wanted to share it with you before I knit it up. Yeah, it's still quite uneven, but I think for a child's hat it's probably fine. And I haven't knit any of my handspun yet, so I'm actually really excited to do that. So that's another project I want to cast on. Clearly I've got too much to do. But yeah, so some very small spinning. There is still some left on one of the bobbins, so I need to figure out how to chain ply. I've never done that before. That'll be the next learning curve. But yeah, so a little bit of spinning. And then a very tiny bit of sewing. And I guess technically a Christmas make. I went to a sewing event the other day called the Birmingham Social, which was in town. A friend of mine organised it, but I went with the baby, and so the idea was that if you're an intermediate sewer, you'd book out a sewing machine for the day and you'd take along a project and work on it. Most people were doing things like coats, dresses, festive pyjamas, stockings. Because I took the baby, I didn't have kids. We are hosting Christmas here for the first time this year, and I don't really have that many Christmassy things, especially not the things that you'd use on Christmas Day, because we're normally with family, but instead they're coming to us this year. And my mum is a stickler for a proper napkin, so I bought some really lovely fabric. They are a bit small because I cut the fabric into half and half and half again, but they will be big enough. And I made 8 Christmas napkins. There's going to be 4 of us, so there'll be 4 for Christmas and 4 for Boxing Day. Yeah, and I'm really pleased. I literally just folded the edge over again and again, like the easiest make in the world. It took me most of the day between wrestling with the baby. I will put a photo in of the day, because there is one with him sat on my lap and me using the sewing machine. So yeah, it was really cute. It was a really nice time. So it was more for me about being social with my friends and sewing necessary than achieving making something amazing. I'm impressed I managed to do this. Cut them, iron them, pin them and sew them all on the same day with the baby on my lap. So yeah, a very small make. But maybe a really good project to give as a gift if you're going to somebody for a Christmas meal, like to a host. I think that would be really lovely. And then a slightly bigger project which I was doing at Suffolk when we were staying with family. Last time I shared, I bought some autumn fabrics, and so I decided to make some quilt stars. I think this is called the Sawtooth Star pattern. And so I made a couple of quilt blocks before I went on an afternoon when Daddy was having the baby, and whilst I was there I sewed up some bags. They are a little bit wonky because I didn't have all the time in the world, and I haven't put the stuff in the top to make them scrunch up yet. But I did this bigger one which I'm probably going to use for laundry because there's no interfacing in there to make it safe for the needles not to go through. And this one does have a nicer lining. And so I might use this as a project bag. I'm not really sure. It's got one motif on one side and the other on the other. So I do have one more of these quilt blocks. So I might make a hot water bottle cover with it, or I might make another project bag. We'll see. I did kind of think about making one for a giveaway, but honestly I don't really have very much time. So I don't know whether I'll get around to that or not. But yeah, a little bit of sewing. Yeah, and then the last thing to share, if I've got time and it hasn't cut me off, let me just have a look actually. So the last thing to share, I did buy an advent calendar this year. I wasn't going to, but I did. But it's a very different one. I bought it, a yarn advent calendar by the Raw Wool Company. And it arrived in this gorgeous box, and if you don't know the Raw Wool Company, they don't dye their yarn. So it's all, they say yarn in the colours that nature intended or the sheep intended, something like that. I've never bought any of their yarn before, so this is like a wild purchase when you've not bought from the company. But I've been following them for ages. I really like their ethics. They're from somewhere down south in England. I should know, but I don't. And the yarn always looks gorgeous. And they said when they were going to do their advent, because they don't dye their yarn, they're not going to do mini skeins. Instead, it was going to be a curated collection of like surprises and treats to enjoy throughout December. So when you open it, if you've got this and you haven't opened weeks 1 or 2, then don't watch. I've opened some of weeks 1 and 2, not completely. When you open it, it was like a bundle of, this is going to be hard to show. Maybe that works. Black tissue paper parcels. And they have written on them what week they're intended to be open on. So for instance, this is week 4. Obviously a skein of yarn. And so I can tell, I think that there's 6 skeins of yarn in here. I've only opened 1 because it was a week 1 skein. And it's this gorgeous yarn. It's 100% British Wensleydale long wool. It's 350 metres for 100 grams, and it's wool spun in Cornwall. Yeah, and it's from the sheep. Oh, I thought that was the sheep's name. No, it's the shepherdess's and shepherd's name, Julie and Anton. Yeah, and it's a single origin raw wool from Cornwall. And it's got lovely drape, and it's my colour. It's like a dark brown. I love it. Really good for a shawl or something drapey. I haven't decided. Being that there's obviously 6 skeins of yarn in here, I'm hoping there'll be enough to make a gorgeous shawl of some kind with some colour work or something like that. So open that, and also in week 1 there was this handmade stitch marker by Emma Humphreys of Popplestone Studio, which isn't to my taste, so I haven't opened it. Because I might include it in a giveaway in the future, because it's not my taste doesn't mean it won't appeal to somebody, and so I'd rather save it and gift it to somebody who would actually enjoy it. And then today I opened one of the week 2 parcels, and it is an ebony repair hook from Lantern Moon, which, I mean, I use crochet hooks if I'm honest. And I have a half broken one that I carry around in my sock pouch, my sock knitting pouch. But this is actually really beautiful. So it's like a little crochet hook. It is wooden, so I'm going to have to be careful with it. I've never had anything by Lantern Moon, but every time I've seen them, I've been like, oh, they are beautiful. So yeah. A nice little treat, something I probably wouldn't buy for myself, but going to enjoy. And I'm only on the first day of week 2 of the Advent at the moment. There is a couple more parcels marked week 2, including a skein of yarn, which I think there was 3 parcels for week 2, so I'm going to open something every other day. I'm trying to eke it out as close to a traditional yarn Advent calendar as possible. But in week 1, I think there was only 2 parcels. In week 2, there's 3. In week 3, there might be a bit more. In week 4 there's quite a few. So obviously I could have spread it out a bit better and opened things not quite on the weeks that they have suggested, but I'm not. I'm just going to have more goodies in week 4 than in week 3 and week 2. Which worked out quite well, because to be honest the first week of December for me has been a blur because we've had family visiting and I've been visiting family. So yeah, that was everything that I've been working on at the moment. Quite a lot. I'm still not really doing any cleaning in the house, which is going to change today because I am going to have to do some tidying up because we're working on the bathroom at the moment, so the house is a tip. House is always a tip. But yes, enjoying this stormy few days, being at home, getting cosy, lighting the fire, putting the Christmas tree up and all of those things. We put the tree up the other night and the baby was just so happy, laughing and giggling and just, oh, it was so cute. So yes, I hope you're all doing well. Hope you enjoy this festive season, however it serves you, and I will catch you up in my next video. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.